if you don't mind, it would be good just to sort of give the audience just a bit of introduction to yourself, your agency, and yeah, just over to you.
Of course. Okay, so I run 530, and I guess by run, I mean like I am a content strategy consultant that is primarily SEO and search forward, in that I believe the best content strategies start with good SEO and you can build off of that. I've been running 530 for 3 years. And before that, I was head of SEO for a big growth agency for 5 years. And then 2 or 3 years before that, kind of ran my own agency in my free time and weekends. So been doing it for a while.
Okay.
Nearly 10 years at this point, which is nuts to think that you've committed to anything for 10 years.
Oh, awesome. And I know we said we'll speak about LinkedIn system, but when you just said that, because I remember when we first met, you were kind of in a position with your agency where things were a little bit stressful. So it'd be cool to actually learn where were you before you joined the Blueprint training? Because what happened was, what I remember is the Blueprint training kind of helps you sort out operations, and then you used our LinkedIn system to help you grow. So it'd be cool to know, where were you before you kind of joined the Blueprint training?
Yeah, great question. So Blueprint was about 2.5 years ago, I think, when we initially spoke. And I'd just come out of essentially running this team for 5 years at the agency. And then it was the beginning of COVID, and it was just like, what do I do? I'm by myself now. All of my processes kind of sit in my head, but that's not a great way for me to grow and kind of be the consultant that I want to be and kind of deliver the product that I want to for clients. So Blueprint for me initially, here is all of the SOPs. So I don't have to sit there and make them myself because it's expensive and it's time consuming. And also I don't necessarily do it the same time every time. And then I learned the Blueprint system, and I've, in all fairness, heavily adapted it to a lot of things, but it's formed the foundation of how I deliver the product that I have today. And then with that, I was slowly coerced into the platinum side of things and met Brendan, and was pretty much the only person in platinum that was like, yo, I don't want to run an agency. I've done that for 5 years. Leave me alone. I just want to be a consultant. And Brendan was like, hey, yeah, I do consulting. So I ended up like talking to Brendan an absolute ton. And Brendan was the one that effectively heard my cries when I was like, please help me. I'm overthinking my very first LinkedIn post. And he was just like, shut up and post it. You'll know if it's good on the backside of that, like once you've posted it, and then adapt from there. And I was like, okay, fine. And I put that post out. And the crazy thing was, I got a client off of that post.
Wow.
And he made a couple of tweaks. And like, I've done this enough now. I'm like 400 posts in. That is not common. And that's fine. I get that. But it was just that nice kind of like kick to go, oh, maybe there is something I should be doing here. And maybe there is a better way, more of a systematized approach to, in the same way that we kind of like have the system for SEO and content, how should we actually be thinking about and creating content on LinkedIn? And there was also a massive other overlap for me in that I had people asking me about how can they be repurposing and taking their SEO content and filling that kind of like 3 to 6 month gap before it starts doing the thing. How can we use it in that gap? And I had a load of ideas, but none of them were proven. So a lot of it for me was like, oh, if I can do this for myself and understand it, then that's something that I can offer. And that's how for me personally, when we first spoke, I was SEO only. And over the last 3 years, I've moved way more into like full holistic, I like to call it organic life cycle marketing. So it's all the way from never found you before through to like loyal customer, advocate for your brand, those kind of things, but purely from an organic point of view. And this has played an enormous part in me, one, learning those things and finding people to talk to, but also just proving the point that I can do it.
Oh, nice. I'm intrigued to know as well. You mentioned that sort of first post you did, Brendan kind of pushed you to that first post, and then you get your one client from that, and it kind of hit a light bulb in your head. It was a bit of a eureka moment. What was client acquisition for you like before you made that first post? What were you doing to generate clients? And what were you doing for lead gen before that? And was it working or was it not working?
Good question. This goes under the assumption that I had a process. which I didn't. It was just kind of from referrals. It was kind of asking people, by the way, does it make sense for me to have a conversation with anyone that you know? Like, we've done really well this month. Do you have anyone you could introduce me to? Like those kind of things. And I think that's a nice way to go, but it can seem quite needy. And I remember, I think Brendan said this, no consultant needs clients, or at least looks like they need clients. And I've always been against cold outreach. I just hate it. I did it for years. It doesn't suit the kind of person that I am or what I enjoy doing. I find it massively draining, and it just wasn't a thing that I wanted to do. And I kind of like the switch of like, I remember somebody at some point telling me you can't repurpose a cold email, which I think is a brilliant way of thinking about things. Like, if you're going to put the effort into those things, you might as well make it public and kind of put it out there and let it work for you and that kind of thing. But back to the original question of like, what process did I have? I didn't have one. There was no proper process, but I was in a position where I had long enough contracts to know that building an inbound content engine for myself was a massive priority, but also something that I had the leg room and space to work and make happen. I was in a position where I had, I think it was like 3 12-month, 18-month contracts that were constantly paying me. I didn't need new clients, so it was a case of like, okay, let's just have a play, let's run around and see what I can do with this.
No, amazing. Another thing I'm curious about as well, beforehand you were getting clients from referrals, and then you sort of transition to just posting content and just letting the clients come to you rather than you trying to go after clients, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have this data, but do you have like a rough idea of like how many leads were you generating from referrals, and you know, you could say grinding out with cold emails compared to now with your sort of inbound content?
Yeah, totally. I have, you've come to the right person when it comes to, do I have the data? Everything is measured. So initially when I was doing like referrals and cold outreach, it was, let's say I was getting maybe 4 to 6 okay-ish discovery calls a month, and a good month, maybe 1 a week, right? Probably on average, probably maybe 2 to 3. Maybe 1 of every other week. In terms of like good discovery calls, this is moving in the right direction. You are the kind of client that I can do my best work with, like those kind of things. In comparison, I did 8 in a week 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've dropped a ton of those down at the minute because I'm tightening up in terms of like exactly who I want to work with and those kind of things. And I've pushed a load of people to just straight advising because I just don't want to do massive projects with a number of these people. But like at the beginning of the year, I think off the back of LinkedIn alone, I closed 2 deals for 3 months that were the equivalent of 2 years of my salary at the old agency.
That's insane.
They came to me and they were honestly some of the easiest sales I've ever done in my life. They knew exactly what I did, what I offered, whether or not I was the right person for them. Yeah.
No, amazing. So essentially you went from 4 to 6 a month and having to really grind for those leads.
If I was lucky, yeah, you can half that number and it's probably about right. Yeah.
So say 2 to 3 a month. So maybe like 1 a week, 0.8 a week, doing 8 a week. So you could say it's literally like 10 leads.
Yeah, probably around about that. Yeah.
Wow. So
I don't make it easy for people to book with me either.
Wow.
On LinkedIn, I don't have a way that you can immediately book a time in my calendar. It takes you to my website and then you have to scroll all the way down and then book a time in there. So I'm really bad at like making that a frictionless process, but also at the same time, I find the people that get that far are people that I genuinely want to talk to in the first place.
I find that as well, like adding friction into the pre-call sales process really helps you filter those leads out to be of the highest quality you really want. The easier it is for anyone to book who might not even be a good fit for what.
Yeah, totally. And then those people that I can just immediately see don't hit the point that I want, I don't even talk to them. I'll just say, look, my time is required more for bigger ongoing 3 to 6 month projects. If you want kind of help with these kind of things, I do advising calls on an hourly basis, and I just send them to a link where it's got just a list of testimonials and then just a link where they can buy like an hour-long advising call with me. And weirdly enough, like that converts like ridiculously well when I'm just like, look, I'm not the right person. You're not the right person for me for long term. But if you want just an hour of my time, buy it. It's there. Yeah.
Fair enough. And I can't go back to that previous point as well. So like where you were generating, one, you're generating more leads, right? 8 to a week. That you could say, if we extrapolate that out, that's around 32 a month, which is very healthy. But not only were these, you could say, you have more volume, but also leads were of higher quality as well. So good just to sort of give the audience maybe a bit more context on that. In what way were these leads higher quality? Were they just more educated on what you do? Were they more warmed up? You know, were they just more, could say, eligible or qualified to pay your fees? Like what kind of...
I guess kind of all of those. It's more a comparison of, I don't have to convince them I'm the right person. I don't have to convince them that they have a problem. They can pay. Instead of it being like 3 or 4 calls to close them, it's like 2. And the second one is them literally just going, okay, what are the next steps? It's more of an onboarding that just also happens to have like, oh, here's a Stripe link, please pay, which is nice. But then the difference is like those initial calls that I was having like 3 years ago, I was doing all of the work still. And now it's like, these are companies that are coming to me with content teams and I'm just telling them what to do. And the biggest difference as to why I would take someone on for like a long-term kind of consulting project versus just one-off advising sprints, like advising calls, is whether or not they have a team in-house to implement the fixes that I need. So I have so many people that are coming to me and they're like, we've got 3 people in-house, they write content, they do all the ebooks, like all of these kind of things, but we don't rank. And it's like, perfect, you're the exact kind of person I want to talk to. Whereas other people would be like, we are literally 3 people as the whole company. And it's like, I could give you everything to do. You're never going to do it because you literally are a CEO. You're running a company. But we can talk for like 2 or 3 hours over a couple of weeks and I can set you up ready for when you do your first marketing hire, ready for when you do your first content hire. I can tell you exactly where you can go get the best writers. I can tell you how you need to set your site up so you don't screw yourself in 6 months' time. Like all of these kind of things. Like it's a different... People are coming to me with the problems that I want to solve and can solve and are just willing to go, here is the money. I don't have a year to make the mistakes. I already know you can solve this problem because you've put so much content out that says that you can.
But so essentially these leaders came to you just super educated, warmed up on what you do. So the sales call, like you said, wasn't even a sales call, or just an onboarding at that point. You know, they're ready and ready to buy. They're just like, okay, where do I sign? Which is great. I want to ask you a risky question at the risk of maybe you repeating yourself, but I just really want to get some clarity on, like, because of what you've said before, was really intrigued me. Like, what were your main drivers or main motivators behind implementing this LinkedIn sort of content system and just like abandoning everything that you tried before and just shifting over to this?
I know exactly what. It's 2 things. So the first one was seeing the ridiculous success that Brendan had and him literally telling me on pretty much every single call and him just saying like, I don't do any outbound. He was really nice in that he showed me not 100% his numbers, but like kind of the things that were going on. And I'd just be like, holy shit, that's something. Okay, cool. I want a part of that. I want in on these things. And then the other thing was seeing a Business Insider article about who I later found out and is a good friend now, Ryan Durrani, of him literally just being like, this is how much money I make from LinkedIn doing inbound as an SEO consultant. And I'm like, I'm 2 of those things and I'm missing the LinkedIn part. Maybe I should do this. And it just been like, okay, fine, fuck it. And then the number one thing that 100% convinced me, okay, I'm doing this for at least a year, and it was completely by accident, was everyone said, okay, if you're going to do this, you should get Shield, which is a analytics. So you can see all your numbers, you can see all your followers, like how things work. You can tag all your posts, that kind of stuff. Gives you an idea as to your performance. I accidentally bought a year's subscription to it, the annual subscription and not the monthly subscription. And when that payment came out, I was just like, oh, okay, fine. Let's give it a year. Let's see how it goes.
Amazing. And I'm curious to also know, like, how has your life changed? You could say in terms of finances or just in terms of your personal life, like by having this sort of LinkedIn system, acquisition system in place, what does that kind of do for you personally? Like, how has that changed your business and your life? essentially.
It's so nice to know that one, I've now got over 400 pieces of content online that I can use for my own blogs. I've proven the point. I've given multiple paid LinkedIn workshops to clients' friends, like all of this kind of stuff on how I've done it, what I've built, like these kind of things. And it's nice to just know, like, I've got all of those assets that I can put to work now and do whatever I want with. And then from an actual personal side of things, like, I've met so many amazing people on LinkedIn. I now have a little Slack group of like 15 people, most of them that I've met on LinkedIn, that are all consultants in one way or another, all around the world. We have a trip to go and all meet up in Lisbon in August. I've met some, like, I went when I was down in London the other week, like, I was there to meet LinkedIn people, to go and see them in real life. Oh my God. And you know, when you're a kid and you're like, don't talk to strangers, don't talk to strangers on the internet. For God's sake, don't meet strangers you speak on the internet. It's like, they're good friends. Like, it's nice to kind of talk to them now and see those things. So from that side, it's really nice to have, I hate the word, but it explains it okay, like in the best way, but like that little community. It's nice to support other people that are doing a similar thing. It's nice to have those connections to know, like, if somebody comes to me and goes, oh, I need a writer, or we're thinking about ads, or we're thinking about TikTok content or YouTube or those kind of things. It's like, oh, okay, good luck with that. And now it's, I have a person I think you should talk to, and I'll send you, like, they'll happily jump on a half an hour like consultation for free and just talk to you, because I've spoken to them for so long, for the last couple months, about these kind of things. And that is a massive change in how, one, my business runs, but also two, from a personal side of things, as it doesn't feel anywhere near as lonely. And it's so easy for this to all feel so lonely. It's nice to have more of those kind of people around me that have got similar problems. Everybody's trying to help each other out. There is just a goal that we're all trying to work towards, and we all want to support each other with that. I didn't have that a year ago, 2 years ago. So many things feel so much more doable now because of it.
No, that's really nice. That's the kind of thing that not a lot of people talk about in the online space, how having this online agency business can sometimes be a lonely road, right?
Yeah.
And so you're kind of saying, by having this LinkedIn, not only did it help you grow your business and help you generate more leads, but actually helps you build a bit of a community and a bit of a network.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other like-minded individuals, half or who have similar interests to you. So I think that's a beautiful thing. So that kind of does help in your personal life, right? And an overall fulfillment.
It's nice to have people that have got, one, similar problems, but also those people that you're like, oh, I'm like 3 or 4 years ahead of you. I'm going to just tell you all of the mistakes that I made and help you get to a better position. Because I know at some point in the future, I'm going to come to you with a problem and you're going to go, this is how you solve it. And it's like, sick. You've saved me 2, 3, 4 years of my life, like trying to figure that shit out too. And you never know how that's going to play out. And it's also just really nice to have people that are just like, by the way, I'm in this country at this point. If you get a plane, I've got a spare room for you. Sick. Let's go.
Oh, that's insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
It got me thinking, like, the depth of the, or the quality of relationships you're able to build there is actually that's really, really, really awesome to hear.
I've never been on a platform where the people that are putting the effort in on a regular basis are so open to actually just, and this sounds so dumb, but it's true, to like actually just be friends and not like, oh, you're somebody I need to know because I can sell you something. It's like everybody's in it for the same slog. We know when the algorithm's like painful against you, okay, cool, everybody's against it. When LinkedIn decides it's not going to show any notifications, we're all in the same boat. And then it's nice that just like that person constantly puts out value. I want to see them win.
No, that is really cool. That is really, really cool. That's really cool. That's what you want. You want people in your network and your group who push you to do more.
Yeah.
That's great. And yeah, my next question I'd say is this sort of 2 questions in one, but I'm just curious to know, in terms of the impact the blueprint training has had on you and business in 2 ways. I'll say the blueprint training itself, so like one, and the LinkedIn sort of acquisition system that we helped you implement. What's like the one big impact each of those things had on you and your business? So the blueprint training and then the LinkedIn acquisitions. If you could just think.
Good questions. So blueprint was more so just the confidence in my systems. It was when people would ask various questions, and it's just like, I have a document that I can figure out exactly what that looks like from the other side, and I can give you a primarily data-backed, reasonable response instead of just the go-to, it depends. It's like, okay, I can give you an it depends, but exactly, but I can show you exactly why. But also, if we were to push it into one direction or another, what the outcome's likely to be, or why it isn't, it depends specifically, and not just like the scapegoat, I don't know, but I'm going to be smart by saying it depends. It's like, okay, but why? And then for the LinkedIn thing, I think it was really interesting because the LinkedIn stuff for me was, I think when I initially started, it was mostly just Brendan kind of giving me tips. And then I never really did like your LinkedIn acquisition stuff. It was mostly just Brendan kind of like, this is what's worked for me. This is where I've picked these things up. Go and buy like Justin Welch's initial course, like figure out what works with that. Some of it's a bit crap. Most of it's pretty good. It gets you started and moving in the right direction. And then just that kind of ongoing support from various people where I was like, it's not just me. Are you seeing this? Am I seeing this? Is it just me? Little bits of like every now and then Brendan will go, oh, can I have some help with this post? Or I would go, I'm really proud of this one. Can you help me out with this? And I realized like that was very much the relationship that I had with Brendan at the time. And please don't go and pester Brendan to like comment on all of your posts because you shouldn't. He's a busy man. But that initial support of just get going, keep consistent was honestly for me the most important part of it. I've said to so many people, like, your table stakes to do well on LinkedIn is, did you post for the majority of every day for 6 months? And if you didn't, keep going or shut up. And people hate that, but I've seen so many people get to that 6 months and all of a sudden their account's just like, bing. It just, in some instances, 10x overnight because you were consistent every day. Every weekday, just boom, 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 boom. You hit that 5-6 month thing. I could literally show you the numbers from mine. It's weird. It's like, so I started posting on May 20th last year, November 23rd, which is 6 months and 3 days. It goes line and it never drops back down. It just hits that point and then it's continuous from there. And I've seen it so many times. I've bullied a number of people into posting on LinkedIn in the last year. I've seen it happen.
I'll ask you two things. Okay. One, how much have you spent on LinkedIn and to generate all these leads? And two, how much time do you also spend per day to generate these results?
Oh, geez. Okay, feeling called out on this. Okay, so how much have I spent? I've probably put about maybe 1,500, $2,000 into courses and just kind of like little bits here and there of just, okay, all that guy does is he teaches how to write hooks. Right? And he's got a $99 ebook. Sick. I'm buying that. That's going to help me so much. Cool. Buy that. Get access to all of his hooks, how he thinks about hooks, these kind of things. And then like, okay, this guy has a thing about like how to leave better comments and templates and that kind of cool. I'll buy that one. And then every now and then it's just like how to actually have a bigger system, how to use Sales Navigator properly, like all of these things. So yeah, I'd say over the last year, I've probably spent about maybe 1,500.
Okay. And roughly, how much do you think you've made back, if you could?
Oh, okay. So in the last year from LinkedIn, so I only get inbound. I don't do outbound, and this is not referrals either. Probably about 280.
Wow.
To answer your other question, I spend at least an hour when I post. So my posts go out at 1 p.m. GMT. I'm there for at least an hour answering as many comments as I possibly can and then commenting on other people. And like I said, still got to turn up to their posts too. Like it's kind of just that unspoken agreement. And you can tell every now and then I'm like, oh, I've missed that person 3-4 times in a row and they've stopped turning up on my comments. Okay, fine. Rebuild it. I got to put the time back in. That's fine. And then every now and then one of my posts just kind of like takes off and it's like, okay, cool. Turn up. on my phone, write the comments, like answer all of those people, like that kind of stuff. Yesterday was one of them, and I probably spent maybe 4 hours total, just kind of going through everything, bit of catch up this morning. And then in terms of like actual content creation for it, so the post that I did yesterday took maybe an hour and a half to build as a carousel, but there's probably about 6 to 8 hours worth of research that went into it initially. And that research is not primarily just for that post. Like, it's something that I was working with clients anyway. And just for clarity, it's a post about what makes content skimmable and how you can turn that skimmable content into something that earns a longer read, which I think is massively important in terms of how people use the internet these days. So this was something I was doing with clients anyway. And I was like, this is really important. I want to show I'm thinking about these things. This is a consideration when I'm talking about content strategy, the content design. So let's make it into a carousel. Let's see how it does. And it did really well, but then that means that like I've got 200 plus more comments than I need to sit there and be like, oh, thank you for looking at my post. So nice of you. Like, they turned up. I want to say thank you. I don't want to post and ghost. Like, that's not me. That's not the brand that I've built.
Yes. So it seems like you're really entrenched into this, which is amazing. And, you know, from what you said, if I was to maybe extrapolate that out in terms of time, it sounds like you probably spend a couple of hours a day on this, right? But
yeah, it's a commitment.
It's a commitment. Absolutely. But I also want to compare this to like other client acquisition methods out there, right?
Totally.
You know, like let's say you're doing outbound, let's say it's cold calling, right? You're spending 3-4 hours a day.
You might spend 5 hours building a list.
Yeah, right.
And cleaning that list and making sure that like you've got good emails on that list and it doesn't bounce. And then how many hours do you spend crying afterwards when 20 people in that list tell you to fuck off and never talk to them again?
Yeah, that's one thing.
Right?
That's one thing.
I'm taking a third shower today to hide how much I'm crying. These people are hurting my feelings.
It's brutal.
That was my life for like 5 years at the agency. All we did was cold outbound. I hated it.
Like, what are you doing now? Just spending a couple hours, but you're making pretty little posts. You're outbound, just spending 3 or 4 hours, but you're getting absolutely, you're just getting hit.
People are brutal when you interrupt their day. Oh my God, yeah.
And that's cold calling, right? But then you have like outbound email, right? Which is also good, but you know, you'll have to warm up the domains, you have to buy different 20 domains, and you have to create emails for each of those, and you probably have to do personalization, and you probably have to do AI, and you know, you have to inbox manage. Like, that is so much work in itself as well. And you need to PAs, you need to fire inbox. It's just.
I used to spend a day a week literally just nursing an inbox when we did cold outbound email.
You know,
I have better things to do.
And that's what you could say consider free, but it's not really free because you obviously have to pay the domains, you have to pay for it, softwares. So it's nearly free. And then
is it free with the price it takes on your soul?
There we go.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And I also want to talk about like another strategy, right? Is paid advertising, right? If you were to, if you were to spend like money on the quality of leads, but let's just say like the amount of leads, like in the agency space, you know, $100 qualified lead is good, right? So let's say you're spending $100 per qualified lead, and you're generating 8 leads a week, right? That's $800 you're spending per week. You know, that can cost you it's about $3,000 a month.
Yeah, it's expensive.
But like, quality of lead is quite subjective, right? The quality kind of lead that you would get from a paid ad is nowhere near as good as someone who's been consuming content for about a year, 6 months to a year. So maybe we can talk about that. I don't know what my question is from that, but I just wanted to sort of make that statement as well and put that in there as well. Okay,
cool. So if I was to pay LinkedIn, from what I can see, overall benchmarks for LinkedIn ad costs, CPM is $6.59 per 1,000 impressions.
Okay.
I have done...
I'm writing this down as well. I want to do the maths here as well.
I have done 4.6 million impressions in the last year. It would cost me $303,000 in ad spend to hit the same amount of impressions.
Holy moly. So that's just impressions. So on LinkedIn advertising, which is notoriously expensive.
It's massively expensive.
Expensive, right? But there's a reason why, right? Because the audience there is so good. The audience are all business people, people within your niche who are ready to pay and use your services, right? So that's why it's so important that you are on there anyway, right? First of all. But now if you want to spend like money on advertising, you're just going to spend $303,000 over the course of a year, right? To just get the same results you did for free. And you made around like $250,000 back within that. So if you spent money to get that result, you would actually be in a minus.
You'd still be in a debt, yeah. Yeah.
So but now you've made that all for free.
On top of that, you have a year's worth of content that you also have, and the like networking and partnership opportunities that come with it.
Yeah.
But minus the time.
And one more thing.
Go for it.
Peace of mind. Like, you have your soul.
True.
You know, if you could describe your experience with the Blueprint training and working with Brendan and working with us in general, how do you describe your experience and where did you get the most value, and and why do you think that is?
Like I said, initially I kind of came into it with all of these ideas. Like, I knew what I was doing, but no proper system, no SOPs to consistently reproduce the results that I know that I could. So for me, my main takeaway was I knew I had a system that I could make big plays with clients. And that was the thing that was probably the most important to me, was the confidence in the system and the work that I was presenting to clients.
Love that. And just last off, how likely are you to recommend Brendan? Brendan was kind of the guy who got you started, and he's the one who'll be teaching with our LinkedIn acquisition boot camp coming on soon at the Blueprint training. So yeah, how likely are you recommending Brendan? How likely are you recommend this acquisition system, and how likely are you recommend Brendan, the acquisition system, and the Blueprint training?
So I've already done. I think I've done 3 people now into Blueprint. I already sent 3 people in your direction, because they had the exact same problem I had initially, in that everything kind of sat in their head and they didn't have any proper systems. And it was like, okay, you might have a different way that you do this, but take these, use them as the foundation, build off of them. I mean, there's so many people out there that literally have just taken the systems that you guys have and that's all they do, and it does fantastic work. I've then kind of adapted a load of them and just changed them to how I work, but I never would have been able to get to the point that I am now without the foundations of those things. And then I'll recommend Brendan until the cows come home. Like, Brendan's great. I love all of the stuff that Brendan does. He very much knows what he's doing. He's very, very smart about the way that he thinks about content and SaaS companies and SEO and why it's important and what's not important. So yeah, I'd highly recommend them. And by recommending Brendan, I don't mean like just go and annoy him. I mean just follow all of his stuff.
Yeah. I tell people that all the time. Just go on Brendan and just look and just observe what he does, because he's and not only is he a genius, he's actually just a super nice guy as well. Like,
he's so nice.
Yeah, he's just such a good guy. Oh, bless Brendan. So yeah, I've seen him coach people as well, and he's an amazing coach. Like he's a natural.
Oh yeah, I used to love turning up. Like, I don't do it anymore, obviously, but I used to love turning up to those weekly calls with him and just be like, "Is it weird that I have this problem?" And it's just like, "Nope, it's fine. Don't worry about it." We talk about like what it's like running the business, but also specific client problems, like these kind of things. Like, any opportunity to work with Brendan again, I'd jump at it.
And yeah, that leads me to my last question as well. Like, for the people watching here, why should anyone listening right now act right now on building a LinkedIn acquisition system? 2
main points. One of them is more time-based, and the other one is more like you should just own this thing anyway. The first one being, there is no better way for you to have something that you own that you can use often to continuously put out value to people that will pay you. And the more you sit on that, the more somebody else is going to be that person. And you don't have to be the best at it. You just need to be the one that's at the front and has the solution to that problem when that person is ready. And then the second one is LinkedIn as a platform is fundamentally changing over the next couple months. You can kind of feel it. For the people that are turning up on a regular basis, you can see it happening. There is a lot of new people on that platform, and it is very much becoming a place for creators to create, to add posts, to add carousels, to create videos, like those kind of things. And there is more and more and more of those on a regular basis, on a daily basis. And you can feel that kind of competition is increasing. And okay, I have a year's head start, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't be the better version of me on there. The longer you wait, the harder it is going to get in terms of literally just the platform. Not whether or not it's a good thing that you should do. It is just as a platform itself and how people use it, it feels like it's about to blow up. And LinkedIn's already pretty big, but it is by far not the biggest social media platform. It is not a big social media platform in the grand scheme of things. It has got a long way to grow. They are slowly adding more and more things for creators. If you don't turn up now, it could be a very different platform in 6 months' time, and you will kick yourself.